Yeah, cool, man.
So, hey guys, I'm Matt, the South Coast Kook. I'm just a kook that loves to talk about all things surfing. And today on the show, I have Grant, the founder of OneWave. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for giving me some time, mate. So, where are you at the moment?
I'm currently in Oslo in Norway.
Wow, good on you,
Yeah,
man,
mate.
for traveling.
Other side of the world. Other side of the world. So, man, it's awesome to be back traveling. That's for sure.
Is there waves over there? I'm not real good with my geography over that way, but is there waves?
Yeah, you get waves. Lofoten Islands, like the far north. So I've surfed there a couple of times. It's like mountains in the backdrop. So even in summer, the water's like about 11, 12 degrees. So you're full like 6'5", wetties, hoods, booties, but it's beautiful because it's like you're surfing these like mountains. You can pretty much like hike these epic mountains in the morning and then like surf in the afternoon. So it's like it's freezing, but there's a lot of like hardcore surfers in Norway, and it's like there's quite a few people traveling. I've noticed lately to Lofoten from Aussie and NZ in the States and stuff. That you definitely get waves. You definitely got to be keen to get them, but mate, there's surf.
What kind of thickness rubber are you wearing? Like 5.4s or something? Or
6'5" in the summer.
oh,
Yeah,
man,
like
that's
hoods,
hardcore.
booties, and you can pretty much take the hood off maybe when it's like summer, but yeah, pretty much like full kit.
Yeah, right.
But
Well,
it's fun, mate. It's a beautiful place.
oh, nice. So I'll let you introduce yourself real quickly. Like, who are you and sort of what do you do?
Yeah, I'm Grant. So I'm the founder of OneWave. We're a non-profit surf community raising awareness of mental health through saltwater therapy, surfing, and fluoro. And we just believe everyone should have the chance to ride waves and talk about mental health without being judged. So we started 9 years ago running Fluro Friday events, and basically it's a weekly event. We've done it every single Friday for the last 9 years, and we dress in bright outfits, it's because it makes people happy, but it also helps start conversations about mental health. So we dress in these brightest outfits. We meet down the beach. It's a free community event. Everyone's welcome. We sit in an anti-bad vibes circle before we start, and that's just checking in. It's a safer space and just being like, how are you really? Like, what are your recipes for freeing the funk? And just let people know they're not alone, because often it's the people we least expect that are suffering the most. So we check in, and then if there are people struggling, we can help connect them up with professional support. We call it like a checkup from the neck up. So like local doctors that specialize in mental health, psychologists, psychiatrists. But then, after the anti-bad vibe circle, we get some saltwater therapy, surf, hang out. And the whole recipe is like sometimes OneWave's all it takes to free the funk and get that stoke back.
That's so awesome, man, what you guys do. So like you said, what's the reasons for wearing fluoro? Is it sort of just to stand out and sort of show people what you're doing?
Yeah, and thanks for you, because you organised the Fluro Friday for our ninth birthday down at Geroa too, mate. So thanks for everything you do.
No, that's all right, man. There was me and Jem O'Shea and Kate Cliff. We combined powers and sort of, thought what you guys were doing is such a good sort of cause, and we tried to sort of start one up. Had about 20 people, I think, down the South Coast, which was like, we were stoked that there was that many that come down,
Mate, it's unreal.
It's just really good just to sit down and sort of get a couple of things off your chest. Like, it's just sort of an open space. And waves were pretty good that day. It had like some little fun ones, and it was really, really good. We're talking about sort of doing it in the future as well, sort of maybe not so much once a week, but maybe once a month, just to sort of check in, because, a lot of people work and have those kind of commitments. So we're sort of getting the ball rolling and watch this space and see what happens.
Mate, that's awesome. Thanks so much, man. Yeah, and that good question about the fluoro. So the whole point is like bright colors make people happy. Like you see a rainbow or someone's wearing an epic party shirt, like it makes you stoked. But also mental health, a lot of the time it's invisible, and a lot of the time it's scary what you can hide behind a smile. And I know for me, I was always the happy kid growing up. People thought I didn't have a worry in the world. And then I know my friends, quite a few of them, that have struggled with their mental health. You just have no idea. So wearing these bright outfits, people are like, what the hell are you dressed up for? And they think it's fun to party. And when you say it's to raise awareness of mental health, it's the last thing they expect. And it kind of just, it takes away that stigma, because once you go, nah, it's to raise awareness of mental health, you're showing like, hey, I'm here, talk to me about anything. We've never met. And you go from strangers to best mates in minutes, because I've shared my story about having bipolar with people on the street who have asked me running down for a surf, or people out the back in the surf during Fluro Friday. And a lot of the time people think we're like on an all-nighter, like still partying. I think that's the thing that kind of like breaks down the stigma, because it takes away that serious first part of like, how do we start the conversation? It makes it lighthearted. And then once you start, it's a real conversation. And then combine that with surfing. It's like, sometimes catching waves with your mates or with complete strangers and having a chat about your mental health can honestly change your life. So Fluro, it's just fun, but it starts with really hard conversations,
So that's why you started it, like you had bipolar, is that what you said?
Yeah, so mate, I was the happy kid growing up, man. I always the one, people were like, man, you're always smiling, not a problem in the world. And I didn't know I struggled with my mental health until my early 30s. Looking back, I probably suffered from some kind of social anxiety when I was younger, like now that I know, but nothing that made me go and get help. But it was, I was working for a tequila company in Sydney. Like it would have been like 10 years ago now, and like dream job, like partying heaps, and we're sponsoring quite a few of the surfers during the Australian Surf Open at Manly. But people didn't know I'd actually been diagnosed with depression like a couple of months before that. And the reason it started was with an anxiety attack at work during a presentation. And that's when I first knew I needed to go get help, but I didn't tell work or anyone. Only people knew in my family. Not even my friends. And I got put on antidepressants. And I know I didn't want to be put on antidepressants, because I'm like, firstly, I'm like, I don't want my mates to see me any different. I thought that taking antidepressants and getting diagnosed with depression would mean they'd see me as a sad person, which is crazy, because we all suffer from some kind of mental health challenge at sometimes in our life. But then these like antidepressants actually they like changed the game for me. That combined with like surfing, exercise, talking about my mental health, and all of a sudden I went from like, because the thing with depression is everyone has ups and downs, but I could drop low real quick. And that could mean that after like that anxiety and taking the presentation, I couldn't go to work for a couple of days because I was so worried that I'd stuffed it up and what people would think. But these antidepressants actually lift my base level, so I couldn't drop as low, but that meant I can go and surf and go to the gym and go out with mates, the things that I'd struggled to do. So all of a sudden I got this confidence at work, and I wasn't getting anxiety as much. But unfortunately, like I'd been misdiagnosed, and these antidepressants actually sent me to the high end of bipolar. So bipolar, you can have manic episodes, which is basically like you have so much energy, you kind of like don't want any commitment. So during the Australian Surf Open of 1 week, I broke up with a girlfriend of 5 years. I ran into my dressed as a tequila farmer, went into my work, the tequila job that I loved, and quit. And I said I was going to start this charity called Where the Party At, and follow the surf tour around and raise money for Surf Aid. So I just wanted to help people. Spent all my money on bar tabs and some of the surf crew, even though I had all this free tequila. So the thing was, I was just trying to help people. And the thing is with mental health and with bipolar, when you're manic, you just want to help people, but you don't want any commitments. But I just went too high, and unfortunately I'd been misdiagnosed, and the medication I was on, if you got bipolar, you need medication that protects you from the highs and the lows. Unfortunately, like my medication I was on was protecting me from the lows. And so that wasn't the right medication for me then, but I'm on the right medication now. But that week I ended up in the mental health ward of Manly Hospital because I just went too high, and I spent 2 weeks in there. I thought my life was over. I thought people were going to think I was crazy. That was when I was diagnosed with bipolar. And when I got out after 2 weeks, I just packed all my stuff up in Sydney and went home back to New Zealand, that where I grew up, next to the beach. And I just surfed every day and hung out with my family, and spent 6 months. I didn't work really for about 3-4 months, and just spent time looking after my mental health. Yeah. So that was like, mate, that's where I went from like, looked like everything was real good from the outside with this, doing tequila job, throwing these parties. Like I've surfed all my life, so that was always a big part of my recipe. But yeah, I realized that alone wasn't enough. I need to be open. I need to talk about my mental health. I need to find the right recipe. I need to find a good doctor and good psychologist. So yeah, mate, it was a big lesson for me. That's for sure. That was kind of the start of the inspiration behind OneWave.
Yeah, right. So surfing has always been sort of a part of your life. Is that how long have you been surfing for?
Mate, I've surfed all my life. So I grew up, like, started bodyboarding, and then when I was about 14, 15, switched to surfing. And then my dad's keen surfer. He surfed all his life, mate. So yeah, I've surfed all my life. But what I realized is that I always thought, like, surfers were the biggest chillers, always happy. But, like, I've realized that makes me stoked. But if I'm not talking about my mental health, and I'm not, like, working on the rest of my recipe and getting, support from professionals and on the right medication, then it's not enough, because then I lose this. I don't have enough stoke to actually get. When I was struggling the most, I couldn't even get out of bed and go surfing. So yeah, the big part for me is just being, like, open, talking about it with my mates, and also getting the checkup from the neck ups as well. And then that means that when I go surfing, I'm even more stoked. And the whole thing was like, OneWave is all it takes. When I was struggling the most, when I was struggling to get out of my bed, my mates would come and get me out in the ocean. And OneWave is all it takes just to get my stoke back. And when you're on a wave, I just forgot about having bipolar. I forgot about my time in the hospital. I forgot about losing my, not having the job and tequila company anymore. And yeah, it's just, the riding the wave, you just forget about everything. And that gave me that feeling, like, because you just lose feeling for everything when you're struggling with your mental health. But surfing for me, and everyone has their surfing, whether it might be like yoga or the gym, but for me, when you're on that wave, like, you don't think about everything else, and you feel that feeling. You're like, okay, I can feel happy again. I've just got to get out and surf every day.
Yeah. I think that feeling, like, if you surf, or if you are a surfer, you can understand. Like, I can relate to, like, that feeling that you're talking about. So I'm assuming most of my community are surfers as well. Like, when you say that feeling, I'm sure they get what you're trying to say, for sure.
Yeah, it's a hard one to explain that, but what I feel is, like, yeah, when you're on a good wave, there's always that, and one wave is what it takes, doesn't mean just paddle up, catch one wave, come in, but there's always that one wave in the surf that you remember, that, like, it might keep you stoked for the day or a week if it's a real good one, or even longer, but it's that there's always that one you remember, and you're like, whoa, like, yeah, that's what it's about for sure.
So what board are you riding?
I'm riding, there's two I'm riding at the moment. I bought, like, a Channel Islands mid-length. So I used to surf shortboard, and then when I moved to Oz, I was living in Bondi, and I surfed longboard a lot, and foamers. I love foamers too. But I bought a Channel Islands mid-length, like a 7.2 when I was in New Zealand. And then when I ended up in Bali last year, on the way home from Norway, I couldn't get back to New Zealand, so ended up really lucky to be stuck in Bali, not stuck, but yeah, I spent a couple of months there, and I had no boards, so I bought, like, this Channel Islands twin pin.
Yeah, I know them.
Yeah, little 20, and that's
Yeah.
my first 20, and I kind of can't get off that at the moment. So I think those two boards, if I'm going to travel at the moment, I'll travel with those two.
What foamy you got?
We always, Soft Light's always supported us with OneWave. So, mate, I've got this. It's sitting in Bondi at the moment, so I haven't had a New Zealand. It's 7.61.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's bright Fluro 7.61. I've been loving, like, that's, like, always super fun. You just catch. I think these days with foamies and stuff, like, you just have way more fun when you're catching heaps of waves, eh? So I think at Bondi, especially, like, to jump on a foamy, and you never have a bad surf on a foamy.
No, well, like, I've reviewed like 8 different ones now. And man, like, every time I jump on one, it's just so much fun. Just summer days, you go have a couple of waves. It's just, yeah, easy to catch, cool, like, cruise, just try dumb shit, like sit on your ass and turn around, and man. So
it's the best.
So where's your favorite place to surf?
My favorite place would be, I've just been lucky to spend a year back, or a couple of years back, in New Zealand, actually, because I was in Sydney, but then when lockdown started, I was like, okay, I'm going to go home and chill back home in New Zealand. And there's this island, like, just out from my house. You take the boat out, it's like 5 minutes, park out the back, and surf there, like Matakana Island. And that's probably my favorite place. Yeah, because it's home. You surf with all, you just paddle out, it's all your mates. And then also Raglan. I love Raglan. Like, Raglan is the funnest left-hander ever. And then, yeah, Indo, like, I love going over to Indo, and I love Hostiga in France. Like, Hostiga in France is sick. Love going there. And then Lofoten Islands in Norway, because it's just so different in the mountains. So yeah, there's so many different fun spots. So many more to check out too. I haven't been to Central America, and, like, there's just so much.
Man, like, it sounds like you're pretty well traveled and sort of got like you've seen a lot of different places and stuff like that. But was there a session or an overseas trip or like one that just really stands out, like or like wave of your life type scenario?
Yeah, I'd say a recent trip to Sumba. So I couldn't get back to New Zealand because of the whole MIQ hotel system. And I was like, message my buddy because I had to leave. I had to leave Norway because my visa was running out. So I was kind of like stuck into, okay, I'll suss you a visa for Bali. So the next 3 days later, we're doing hotel quarantine in Jakarta. He's in a different hotel. And then he's like, okay, it's 2 days, arrive in Bali. He's like, you got to come on a trip with me to Sumba. And I'm like, oh, I'm just getting to Bali. I probably need to suss out a few days work. It's like, no, the swell's hitting me near. Like, definitely don't miss out on this one. So I'm like, sweet, book my ticket. Didn't even know where I was going. Never been to Sumba. Turn up this tiny little airport and I jump in this car, like 2 hours, the bumpiest road. And then the next morning we go out. There's only 2 of us out there. So me, my mate James, and Jesse, his girlfriend, and took the little boat out. The local dropped us out there, and literally like this right-hand point break, the longest right-hand I've ever had. And I hadn't surfed for 3 months because I've been in Norway. And then I actually won surf in Lofoten. And there's this right-handers, and he went out the back, surfed this big slab. I'm like, no, I'm going to go just surf this fun right-hander. And it was me by myself. And then they came and joined me afterwards. And I was like, because it's one of those ones you want to enjoy it with your mates. And so we surfed that for 3 or 4 days. And the 3 of the days, there was just 3 of us out. And then another boatload came from another resort. And there was like 6 or 7, but we were stoked to have crew on it. So I think I won't ever get that chance again to surf Indo with that, few people out. So I think that I'll never forget that trip. And because my mate was just sussed it all out for me, like I didn't even know I was going to be going to Bali. And then he's like, nah, come here, like no idea where I'm going. And I think that's what surf trips are all about, man. But I think I'll be lucky to do that again with those lesser crowds.
Yeah, right. It sounds like an epic trip, man. Was it good size swell?
Yeah, it was like 4 to 5 foot, and it was like just real fun waves. Hey, like he was surfing the big slab on the back. I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna let you have that one. I'm gonna surf this fun right-hander. So, mate, it was it was epic.
Nice, man. So OneWave, like you said, has been going for 9 years. We celebrated your 9th birthday.
Yeah,
so
9 years.
With the Fluro World Fluro Day, did you have many countries participate?
Yeah, we were super stoked. So every year for our 9th birthday, so we've been running the Fluro Fridays every year for 9 years, and about 5 years we've been running OneWave school programs as well, where we go into schools and do Fluro Fridays at schools. So get all the students at high school, primary school dressed up in bright outfits and talking about mental health. So this year for the 9th birthday, we want to create a Fluro wave around the world, and the whole idea is like, it's really connecting people and, through bright colors and surfing and saltwater therapy. So we had 16 countries. So we had 50 locations, 50 beaches in 16 countries from New Zealand all the way to Norway that created these Fluro wave along the beach. And the message was just, whatever you're going through, you're not alone. It's about bringing more color to mental health and getting people salty and, sharing the message that OneWave is all it takes. So yeah, we were super stoked. We had South Africa, we had like Sri Lanka, the States, UK, massive crew in Aussie and New Zealand. And yeah, we were super stoked with the response. And these are all run like by you, like your legend and the crew at Gerard, by volunteers who create these Fluro Friday communities at their local beach and, provide a safer space where people can come down and hang out and share their stories or listen to other people's stories if they just want to chill. And I think the thing is that you go from strangers to best mates in minutes, people that you haven't met before because of the bright colors. It's fun, but you share stories about mental health. And yeah, that's just the thing about connecting people at times. I feel like the last 2 years, our mental health has never been tested as much as this. And so
100%. That's what it spoke to me, man. Everyone's in lockdown. Everyone's like, we've had COVID sort of like lingering for that long that I feel like now more than ever, what you're doing is needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy, I think, because people have been like away from family or friends and not been able to travel. And so it's been hectic. But also I think when you come out of these lockdowns and stuff and you haven't been, you got to kind of adapt to working back in the office again, or life's full busy again. I think that's there's challenges there with people's mental health too, because if you've got anxiety and you kind of like, and I still struggle with anxiety, you get kind of used to kind of just hanging at home and there's not the busyness going on. So I feel like there's those pressures for people too, you know. So I think now that it's never been more important to be talking about mental health, but I also feel like community, man. It's the fact that you didn't have the community around when you were, you know, stuck at home and locked down and stuff. I feel like people realize more than ever how you need that connection and you need to be able to share stories and hang out with good people. And I think kindness, you know, it's really highlighted how important it is to be kind to other people, but also be kind to yourself, because we've never had a time we've had this much time by ourselves. And I feel like it's made people realize, like, what are the things that are gonna make me happy, you know. So yeah, that's been a massive part of OneWave. We're super lucky to have such a supportive community around the world. We've got like, yeah, so many rad people, all different ages, you know, like some people come down and hang out, do the anti-bad vibe circle, then do a beach clean. Some crew go for a swim, some crew go for a bodyboard, you know, heaps of crew surf. It's just everyone's welcome.
Yeah, sweet, man. So that was going to be what I was going to say. So you don't need to be a surfer. You don't need to, you know, have experience under the belt. You can literally just come down, hang out, and just get some things off your chest as well.
Yeah, definitely. We just basically rock down. Everyone's in their bright colors, or if you don't have any fluoro, that's all good too. We'll bring some Hawaiian lays down or fluoro zinc, and we sit in that anti-bad vibe circle for like 10, 15 minutes and share stories around mental health. And some people just listen, you know, and if you're feeling good, that might be a time when you're there to help others. And if you're not feeling good, you can share your story, or you can just sit there and chill and listen. And then, yeah, some surf, some swim, some do yoga. We got all ages down there. Families come down, little kids. We've got Cedric at Bondi. He's 80, maybe 82 or 83 now. He comes down and reads his favorite quotes every Friday morning, but also he's down the beach cleaning every day. So it just, yeah, we're just lucky to have so many amazing, kind people who've got time for each other. And it just gives people that routine, because when you're suffering from your mental health, I think you need that routine, you need community. And so if people are having a tough week, it might be on Wednesday, they're like, okay. And we've heard people say that if I can just get through to Friday, then I can see all the Fluro crew. But it's not only the Friday, then there becomes a community that support each other through the week. They go surf together or go for a coffee together and stuff. So yeah, we're super lucky. We have so many good people.
How did you adapt during the lockdowns and stuff? Like, did you still have a network that was still available for people?
Yeah, that was crazy, because actually it was going to be our 7th birthday. So basically the week the lockdowns happened, it was going to be our 7th birthday. And then we're like, couldn't run any beach events, and we're like, shit, what do we do? And then I saw a mate online. He had started running his meditation groups on Zoom. So I get him a call. I was like, man, how did it go? He's like, man, actually I was surprised. He's like, because people that couldn't usually come to the studio from other countries could just jump on and become part of the meditation. And I was like, okay, if they can do meditation online, we could definitely do Fluro Fridays online. So that was the first Fluro Friday we did, was the 7th birthday. And we had probably 10 countries, people from 10 countries on there, about 100 people. And then, so what we did is we then, for the next year and a half, we did Fluro Fridays every week on Zoom. And then when beaches opened up, we still had the Fluro Friday on Zoom for people that, you know, was still going through lockdowns or couldn't make it to the beach. And then when it was the really tough start of the lockdowns, when everyone was in lockdown, we also did like a Wednesday Free the Funk session on Zoom. So yeah, Zoom's been massive for us. Like, it's not the same as in person, but it actually helps connect people from different countries that have never met each other. And now we run we offer school programs on Zoom as well, and corporate programs or workplace programs as well. So that's now we've actually got the option of running a virtual session for a school in a different country or a company in a different country, where we never had that before. So yeah, it sucked, the whole COVID thing, but there has been some positives for us in terms of being able to help more people around the world through, you know, doing these virtual Fluro Fridays.
Do the kids froth it when you go to the schools? Do they love it?
Yeah, the kids froth. We started doing high schools, and I was like, I thought primary schools might be a bit young. And so high schools froth, especially when they all dress in fluoro, because they're all part of it, and they get stoked. And then, but primary schools froth even more, because these kids are just like love dressing up, and you ask them like how they free the funk, and the whole school's got their hand up, and they're all like just asking about OneWave. So It's a massive passion of mine, because I'm like, if I had known more about mental health when I was at school, then I would have got help early. You know, and I would have known it was okay not to be okay. But I left it to the last minute, which a lot of people do. I left it to, I was like at breaking point, where I ended up in hospital. I'm just like, I just want to let people know they don't have to, you know, go through it alone, that it's good to be different. It's okay not to be okay. And yeah, the school program is just bringing bright colors and sharing stories and going in there with surfboards and making it fun, and just giving them the chance to share stories, but also just giving them the chance to understand what are kind of signs that you might be struggling with your mental health, and there's always someone you can talk to in terms of the school counselor and, you know, your doctor. But then also inviting them down to the Fluro Friday, so that they've got that regular community, because I think that's massive. You know, it's like you can have your friends, family, and your professional support, but I feel like if you can be part of a community, it's like with the South Coast Kook, you know, you teach people how to surf, and then, you know, your mates for life after that, or you've got your sub or your running club or your footy club. I feel like having that community and people of all different ages, you just develop this like friendship, you know, and I think that's massive. If we can get, you know, people when they're young, feeling like that and being part of a community where they can talk about their mental health, you know, it's a game changer.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, a part of the community. There's people that I've sat down and done episodes with that I talk to all the time now. And there was the group of 20 that we had down the beach for your OneWave event. There was like 3 or 4 of them on the weekend that I ran into, and I wouldn't have known them if I didn't do the OneWave and we have a chat, you know, and talk about go get a coffee later and stuff. So yeah, it's like, it's good to see everyone coming together and building.
Yeah, it's different. That's the thing with the community. It's like, how else would you have met? Like when I was back in New Zealand, there was this epic sunrise, the sunrise crew, swim crew, and they basically just get salty every Friday morning. And they talking to the people, they'd like, and same concept as OneWave without the fluoro, but they were saying, oh yeah, like I met this person through them and that person. They're like, we never knew each other. It's like, how else do you meet sometimes? You know, otherwise friends are friends or partying. But yeah, I think that community thing and like common purpose, and it attracts people that are stoked to help each other too. And I feel like, yeah, that's such a big part of like helping you get through some tough times, you know, just people that have time, and also can lean into, I call it like leaning into the uncomfortable. And I feel like if you're turning up to a Fluro Friday, you're basically saying to people, hey, whatever you want to talk about, I'm here for you, you know, because you've got up early on a Friday morning, you're dressed in some ridiculous Fluro outfit. And so, yeah, it breaks that stigma, but it turns, you know, strangers into best mates in minutes, you know.
So when you started this many years ago, did you think it was going to get this big?
Nah, man, I had no idea. So when I was in New Zealand, I was like, the biggest thing that helped me was surfing, but the next biggest thing was just sharing my story, you know, talking about my mental health, because I found out some of my best mates were also struggling, and I thought they might run the other way when I told them, but it was the complete opposite, man. They were just there. They were just like, gave me a hug and said, how can I help? And I was just like, man, just make sure I go surfing every day. So they took me surfing. So I was like, okay, this is me. That was like the happy kid growing up. Like there must be so many, and my mates who were surfers were supposed to be the biggest chillers ever are also suffering. There must be so many other people. So I was like, okay, I just spend every day thinking, okay, how can we share this recipe of saltwater therapy and surfing, and it's okay not to be okay, and hopefully I can help this one person, you know, like me, who's struggling, who hasn't talked to anyone about their mental health. And so wasn't really sure how to start it. And then one Friday morning at Bondi, I was like, okay, I've never surfed in a suit. So I kind of set up the Instagram, OneWave's all it takes. And then I was like, okay, I want to get people talking about mental health. I want to get people surfing. But I'm like, if we're surfing in normal wetsuits, it's not going to help start conversations, like how people won't ask, like, why are you surfing in that wetsuit? You know, so I'm like, okay, I haven't surfed in a suit before. I'm going to chuck on a suit and go surfing. I couldn't find my suit pants. I was just like boardies, shirt, tie. And that was OneWave's first Fluro Friday. That was, so March 2013 in Bondi. And a lot of people just laughed at me. A lot of people thought I was on an all-nighter from King's Cross, but there was a few people on the surf that day that asked me, and that I shared my story. And they told me about their battles with mental health that they'd never told anyone. I was like, holy shit, like if this is all it takes, dressing up in a ridiculous outfit. Always loved dressing up and going surfing. Then, I'm going to do it every week. And so I chucked it on Instagram the next week. OneWave called it a board meeting for the first 4 weeks before we changed it to Fluro Fridays. And then I was like, board meeting, raise awareness of mental health, who's keen. And the next week we had 3 people there. Never met the other 2 guys. And Joel, who's been part of it ever since. And then next week there was like 10 of us, and then got my best mate Sammy, so he was the first person to jump on board and help grow OneWave into what it is. And then Bondi started, and then a girl Roisin, who had never met, paddled out at Byron Bay in a fluoro dress. She'd just seen us on Instagram and decided to paddle out one Friday, and she messaged me and goes, "Hey, I hope you don't mind. I paddled out in a fluoro dress." And everyone was asking about it, and they're real keen for another Fluro Friday here. So we went up there the next week, and there was like 30 of us. And so I've just been lucky to have all these legends that have like started Fluro Fridays at their local beach, or they've attended a Fluro Friday and become part of the community. So mate, I had no idea, and it wouldn't have. All I wanted to do was like show people that you don't have to go through it alone, because I thought you did, and I thought people would run the other way. And what I've found is that this recipe of bright colors and Fluro Fridays and surfing and saltwater therapy and community, it just brings all these good people together. So I just started because I wanted to share the recipe that helped me. And then luckily there's all these. Lisa started Whoopi Beach, and they've been running it for 5 years now. Every single week they get like more than 50 people. So I wouldn't have happened without the epic community we've got, that's for sure.
Mate, and I've even seen that you got, Harry and Meghan joined in as well?
Yeah, that was crazy. That was out of hand, actually. We thought that was a stitch up when they told us that Harry and Meghan were going to come down, because we're like the full grassroots surf community. So I do OneWave part-time. All the other legends are volunteers. And so we're full grassroots. So when they told us, Harry and Meghan were going to come down, they were absolute legends, so nice and so passionate about mental health. And when they sit in the anti-bad vibe circle with us and shared stories around mental health, and it just let people around the world know they don't have to go through it alone, that mental health doesn't discriminate. And they helped our community so much. We had so many different beaches around the world that started Fluro Fridays after that, because people didn't know about us before then, but once they saw Harry and Meghan and their Fluro lays, they're like, what's that all about? And they didn't expect it to be around mental health. So mate, that was huge for us. It was a massive day for the community, that's for sure.
Did Harry and Meghan catch some waves, or?
Mate, we tried to get them in there, but they were on a tight schedule. They actually stayed longer than they were meant to, like sitting in the anti-bad vibe circle. We had their team behind, because the whole rule with the anti-bad vibe circles is like no cameras, no people around listening to what we're talking about. So luckily it never happens, but they agreed, okay, the team's got to stand back. And we had that PR person like waving at me going, hey, you got time's up. And I'm just like, Harry's speaking. I'm not going to stop Harry speaking.
Sorry, Harry, mate, you got to stop now.
Yes, you got to stop, mate. We've got that one time we're ever going to get the chance to talk to you. So we tried to get him in for a wave after that, but they're on a super tight schedule, those guys. I feel bad for them on how much pressure they have on them, that's for sure.
Oh man, I could just imagine, like, it must be tough for them, for sure.
Oh man, for the organization that went into that 1 hour Fluro session was crazy. So I'm like, oh my God, that's them like every day.
Yeah. So is there one Fluro Friday that really just stands out for you?
I would say that Fluro Friday with the Royals, with Harry and Meghan was something that, every Fluro Friday for me is like, I get so stoked in every Fluro Friday. So that would be a massive one. For sure. Like Prince Harry and Meghan down there was massive, because it was like a celebration of the community, because we got to invite people from different beaches that run the different Fluro Fridays that never get the chance to do Fluro Fridays together. So it was like a thank you. The hardest thing with that though is that we could only have 50 people. So that was like, because OneWave, the whole thing is like everyone's welcome. But that was the hardest thing, is having to keep the numbers down. There's another Fluro Friday that really, that was massive for me. And it was there was a girl in New Zealand, Lucy, and she had been through some really tough mental health struggles, and she reached out to us on Instagram and said, I've had countless doctors, to try and get help, but I saw you guys, I saw the bright outfits on Instagram, and I was like, oh, what's this all about? Looks fun. And I found out it was mental health. And then what she did after that is she bought a Fluro wetsuit and then did Fluro Fridays like every week by herself after that. She's just like, knowing she had the support of the community, even though like from far away, she was in New Zealand, it helped her so much. So what we did is I think it was the 6th birthday. We booked her a ticket to Oz to come and celebrate OneWave's 6th birthday with us. And I kind of put it out there. I was like, hey, look, totally understand if you say no, but would you be keen to, be the guest speaker? And she came and shared her story in front of like 500 people. And it just like, it blew me away. Like it was so powerful. And I was just like, okay, she was really inspired me and the whole OneWave community, and just to have all that and just to be able to have her there and see how stoked she was. That was one that I'll honestly never forget as well.
Yeah, nice. So what's planned for the future for OneWave?
Mate, the aim is by end of 2023 is to have 100 communities around the world. So 100 communities in terms of regular Fluro Friday beaches that run either monthly or weekly. So basically at least once a month they have the communities running. So at the moment we're about 30 beaches that run regular OneWave, so at least monthly, in about 7 countries at the moment. So the aim is by 2023 is to have 100 communities around the world. And just to give as many people as we can the chance to ride waves and talk about mental health. And then also we want to be running by then 50 school programs each year. And each school program impacts around 500 students. And so that's the aim, is to impact 25,000 students each year by 2023. So COVID definitely made that a bit harder, that target we've had. So, but we're still trying to make it happen. So yeah, the whole thing about OneWave, mate, we just want to bring more color to mental health through saltwater therapy, surfing, and Fluro, and just give as many people as we can the chance to ride waves and talk about mental health. And so that's through the Fluro Fridays is the one of the programs. The school program is the second. We call it the Free the Funk program. And then we also have a workplace Free the Funk program where we go into companies or run the virtual sessions as well. Yeah, so that's the key. But really the big thing is, we just want to make sure we look out for each other, because sometimes surfing and having a chat to your mates and just being in the ocean can honestly change your life. And you never know, your closest mates, sometimes it's the people you least expect. And so yeah, we just want to share our love of the ocean. To kind of, we just lose too many people. We still lose so many people to suicide. And yeah, everything we do goes back to that. Like whatever OneWave does, we always go back to, whether it's the events we organize or partnerships we do, we always think of like, would this help someone, or how would this help someone who's suffering depression if they come down to Fluro Friday for the first time? So that's always what we go back to. So yeah, that's our key thing, is we just want to try and save more people and get more people in the ocean.
Yeah, like Kiama, like where I live, it had a little bit of a rough trot recently. We've had like a higher number of suicides sort of come through because of like the pandemic and other sort of reasons. So yeah, like we're going to really try on the South Coast to start one up, like I said, maybe once a month. So yeah, watch this sort of space. We'll see what happens there. But what is the most rewarding thing about what you do?
Mate, the most rewarding thing, I think, without OneWave, like having something that gave me hope when I was struggling. So I think when I used to struggle with my mental health before OneWave, and I was suffering from depression, I didn't really know what it was. When I was feeling shit, I thought shit was only getting worse. Like I just couldn't find anything that gave me hope. Even surfing, because I wasn't talking about my mental health, so I wasn't happy enough to really get stoked through surfing. So since OneWave, I've realized that if I go low, I still struggle. I think that's the thing with mental health. Like for me, I'll have bipolar for life. I still have ups and downs. I still suffer from anxiety, but the difference now is I kind of know my signs a bit more and my triggers, but also when I go low, I'm like, okay, I just have to hang in there because things can only get better. And I think a big part of me is just helping people. Like, I feel like kindness and helping people through, giving them the chance to ride waves for the first time, or giving them the chance to talk about mental health for the first time, helping people and having a purpose every day. It's helped me manage my own mental health and get my stoke back when I've been doing it tough. Community, I've met the best people ever. I only knew there was one person I knew through OneWave before, and that was Sammy through the tequila job. He was managing the bar in the Cross, and now he was the first person to come on board with OneWave, and we've been best mates ever since. So meeting new people, spending more time in the ocean. I think I've got up at sunrise on Friday, every Friday for 9 years, and I would have slept in, I'm pretty sure, a lot of those Fridays if I didn't have OneWave. So having that purpose of, getting up early in the morning to see sunrise with a whole bunch of crew is epic. And it's helped me with my mental health because I meet other people going through similar things to me. So yeah, I think helping people is amazing, but it also made me realize too the importance of helping yourself. And I've learned that, there was times in OneWave when I was focusing too much on trying to do everything and trying to help everyone else, but I forgot to help myself, and my mental health started to suffer. So I'd say to anyone out there, just, it's good to be kind to others. Like, it's amazing, but you got to be kind to yourself, because otherwise it's really hard to help others if you're struggling yourself. So that's been a big lesson for me as well through the whole OneWave journey.
So like, is that what you would say to someone that's sort of on the fence, and what would you say to sort of get them across the line to come down to a Fluro Friday?
Yeah, I'd just say, hey, come down. Every week we dress in bright outfits and go surfing to raise awareness of mental health. And people usually they love surfing, so they want to come surf, and they love the idea of raising awareness of mental health. And you can get someone down there because they don't feel like, sometimes I felt if I was turning up to a mental health support group, it might mean that I'm struggling, and that might be some stigma that stopped me going down. But I've found with OneWave and a whole lot of other awesome mental health charities, if you can talk about the fun first, come down for a surf with the crew, you'll meet heaps of good crew, and you go down there, you're in bright outfits. So it's all fun, happiness first. And then you sit down in that circle. And I've had crews say this to me, they're like, man, I never knew I suffered from mental health, but I heard, once I listened to someone else's story, I felt that I've had those feelings in my chest tightening of anxiety. So they've realized, okay, I didn't expect to come down here and talk about my own mental health, but then they're opening up without even knowing. So yeah, I just say, come down here and meet some good crew and support others. And people always want to help people. And then what happens then is they then end up helping themselves, because either they feel good from helping people, or they realize, hey, I need a bit of help too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I've got one last question, Grant. What does surfing mean to you?
Oh, surfing means I think surfing is the funnest thing ever and the best escape. I think for me, being out in the ocean, it's just it's the best place ever. You kind of forget about everything. And then when you get on a wave, it's hard not to smile, it doesn't matter what board you're riding. And then when you get off that wave and you're so stoked, especially when you're surfing your mates. So yeah, for me, surfing is the funnest thing ever and the best escape.
Oh, 100%, mate. So yeah, all my listeners, jump on, follow OneWave. Have a look at what they do. It's awesome. Keep an eye out on my socials for what we're going to do with OneWave. But yeah, hopefully we can get some ball rolling. But Grant, mate, thanks for sitting down and having a chat, mate. I highly appreciate it.
Mate, thanks. If anyone is keen to start a Fluro Friday at your local beach, drop me a message on Instagram. OneWave is all it takes, or Matt will give you the details. And if you want us to host a Fluro Friday at your school, we're doing a Free the Funk school tour in May and June in Australia. So anywhere in Oz will come to you. It's a free program. So yeah, just shoot us a message too. We'd be stoked to make it happen.
Cheers, man. Where you surfing this Friday? Where's the OneWave this Friday?
Mate, so this Friday, I'm going to be in Oslo this Friday. So I'll be doing a chilly dip in the down in Oslo, and the sea, it's about, the temp's about 6 degrees, and I jumped in last week. So no waves, but I'll be definitely jumping in the ocean. So yeah, and if any of the crew want to find out where the local Fluro Fridays is, if you jump on onewavesortakes.com, and the Fluro Friday page lists all the beaches where you can join the local crew each week.
Mate, thank you so much. That was really good, man. I appreciate it.
Man, thanks for everything you do, bro. Appreciate it.